Good morning, friends. Today, I'm going to show you 4 different trellises that you need in your summer garden. And as an added bonus, I'm going to give you a time lapse of one of them. Let's go. When I built this garden, I didn't have a master plan for 4 different trellis systems. Each system came from a different problem that I needed to solve. They all support plants differently, and that's the main point of this video. Instead of starting with the trellis system, I think we should start with the plant. How does it naturally grow? How much space does it need? How tall is that plant going to get? And are you going to have access for pruning and harvesting? All these are considerations. Those 4 questions are what led me to these 4 different systems. So let's start with the most aesthetically pleasing one, the arch trellis. When I designed this space of the garden, I knew I wanted 6 raised beds. And if I had to be fully transparent with you, there wasn't a big problem to solve here. I just really loved the cattle panel arch. I've seen videos and other footage for some other gardeners, and I just love the big green tunnel that they had in mid-July, August. One lovely perk of this, however, is for the green pole beans, as they get heavy, you see they start to drop and hang down. Now, this brings me back to my point I mentioned earlier for one of those questions. How are you going to harvest your plant? Well, this arch trellis solves that problem. This design is very simple. 1 cattle panel, 16 feet long, and it's stuck between the ends of 2 opposing raised beds. Now, these cattle panels are held on to the raised bed with U-nails, galvanized U-nails. And as you can see, it's flimsy, but it withstands wind for sure. Last night we had 60-mile-per-hour winds that came by in a storm, and it did fine. Wind passed straight through here. There's no parasail kind of effect. So it worked very well. And to have proof of that storm, if you look over my left shoulder, you probably see the gigantic corn stalks laying over like 60 degrees. So again, this definitely withheld it for sure. So if you get closer, you see at the base of each of these raised beds are planter boxes. Now, initially upon sowing the seeds, I planted about 9 seeds in this 36-inch wide box, right? Now, as they got taller and taller, I kept snipping them and trimming them down to the 4 best plants. Last year, I tried 2 plants per box, but it wasn't enough. This year, I doubled it to 4. So we have 4 healthy, strong plants right here, taking up this whole side of the vine. And a couple of weeks ago, it actually crossed the midpoint and has definitely made it toward the 3/4 mark on this side. Now, these plants over here, exact same thing. Exact same setup, 4 different plants. I picked the 4 strongest ones. You can see here I have a cucumber from the A-frame next to us that is slowly taking over, but it works. And this has done the exact same thing. It got to the halfway point a couple of weeks ago, and it's made its way over here. If you look directly above it, you see these twines of vines. So, creates a pretty cool shady experience in here. And we love it. We definitely love it. Okay. Sorry, we were looking at beans. But our favorite thing about this system is we are growing food in vertical space that wouldn't have otherwise been there. So it's really exciting. This evening, we're probably going to have some steaks on the iron skillet. We are very likely coming out here and grabbing multiple handfuls and going to enjoy some dinner. This arch works because of the vertical space it has over the pathways. This segues into our next trellis system, which is the vertical trellis system. Recent addition to the garden is this vertical cattle panel trellis. As you can tell, it's pretty beefy. My wife and I, thank you. My wife and I, we designed this and built this with the purpose of initially controlling our indeterminate tomato plants. This is actually my first year ever growing an indeterminate tomato plant. I've always grown bush type varieties. So I designed this and gave it a try. As you can tell, it's doing pretty lovely. And essentially what it is 3 4x4 posts. I do believe this is 10 feet. It's buried down 12 inches into the ground with quickcrete and tied together at the top, as you can tell, with extra reinforcement, screws everywhere, you name it. And it's pretty sturdy. Yes, it does wiggle and wobble a little bit, but I'm actually okay with that for tomatoes. With knowing how they pollinate through vibration and through insect activity landing on the branch, it's actually okay. So, super cool design. I'm very happy with how this has turned out. I didn't want a standard size bed, raised bed that matches the other ones. I want it to look a little bit different. And also I didn't want to have tomato plants that started 2 feet off the ground but grew up to 10 feet tall. I can't reach that, nor will I. So I believe this is 9 feet tall. And at the very top of it, if you come closer, I put in some eyelet hooks for my strings. Now my string runs down, and as the plant gets heavy, I'm on the worst tomato plant right now there is, but it's okay. As the tomato plant gets heavy from the fruit, the string and this simple tomato clip holds it up. Very cool design. Now you might be asking, why didn't I just put this on a different system? I'll show you that one later. But I also like the idea for these cherries to be able to intertwine themselves between the cattle panels and to create this big green wall of fruit, essentially. So here we are. Just as this vertical trellis solves its own problem with vertical space and able to carry the load of heavier fruits, our next trellis solves its own problem. This is the A-frame. Due to the amount of space that a raised bed has, sometimes an arch trellis or a vertical trellis just isn't feasible, right? You need a trellis system that keeps all of its plants into one localized area. Without this A-frame, these cucumbers here would scatter over the beds, they would be in my walkways, and it wouldn't be happy for harvesting. It wouldn't be a good thing for disease control. Pest management would be it'd be very difficult. So this A-frame allows us to keep them all consolidated in one tight area. And it also allows us easy harvesting, as I just said. The two angled sides allow for plants to be placed at the bottom on both, and it allows us to train up the cucumber to its desired location. This year we have 3 plants on this side, and we have 5 on that side. Now, personally, I think it's a little too much. In hindsight, for this cattle panel height, I would not have done that. But here we are already mid-season. We're actually having a pretty prolific harvest right now with minimal disease pressure. As you can tell, there is some insect pressure, but either way, it's kind of a little on the unruly side, and I wish I would have planted 1 or 2 plants less. Also, in hindsight, I probably would not have planted on both sides. I would have just planted one side and allow the vine to climb up and down. This cattle panel here is only 35 inches tall, okay? At the angle, it puts it a little bit smaller. And this Market More 76 cucumber grows up to about 8-9 feet in length. Well, if you know any kind of simple math, you know that automatically covers both sides if it went up and over. I didn't think about it at the time because this cattle panel actually came from leftover material from the vertical trellis here. So it was basically free of charge. Not quite, but I keep telling myself that makes me happy. The way I put it together was I stuck it in the very bottom of the beds on each side, made it as wide as possible, and at the tops here I use zip ties every few inches to keep it nice and sturdy. On the ends I had some bamboo sticks left over from a different project, and I just weaved it in and out of the panel, and it has created a really rigid structure, and I'm very pleased with it. Again, just as the arch panel, as the vertical panel here, it withstood the 60-mile-per-hour winds that we had last night. And I'm very thankful for that, because who wants to work more after all the garden tasks you already have? And one last perk of the A-frame is it allows for airflow. And our next one, follow me. This here is the horizontal string and clip system. Let's dive in. Go, Callan, go.
The face of the terminal.
Our last system is this one, and I can't wait to walk you through it. So, this is the horizontal string and clip system, and after only using it for about 4 weeks now, I can honestly already say I will never go to another system for this many amount of plants, especially for what it provides. So, what it basically is behind every tomato plant, I have a PVC pipe stake, okay? When the plant is super young and early, and as it's growing up, the branches and the stems are still super thin, and they can easily be thrown over by the wind. So, what I do is take some Velcro straps, and I clip the plant to it. That's it. After about 2, 3, 4 more weeks go by, the sucker branches and some of the main stem starts to definitely grow up and outward, just like this tomato plant here. Now, if you know anything about tomato plants, you know that you have your main stem, you have your side shoot stems, which are basically your leaves. They're your solar panels, right? And then you have what's called your sucker branch. Now, these sucker branches eventually become a flowering cluster. That flowering cluster eventually becomes fruit clusters. Now, the more those you have on your plant, the higher chance of yielding a greater harvest per plant. And that's what this system does at its best. It allows me, with this amount of space, to allow for those sucker branches. I don't have to prune those. I do prune them a little bit to keep the plant kind of controlled at its height, but I let most of them go because, again, if you look very closely, you see a cluster here, a cluster here, a cluster back here, a cluster back here. There's 5 or 6 clusters already, and they're on different sucker branch stems. So the reason I love this is, if you follow us up, this system is pretty much held together by this PVC pipe, this PVC T, and this 7-foot T-post. Now, as you can tell, I have a vertical string that goes down into a tomato clip, and with that tomato clip, I have it holding up a heavy part of the fruiting branch. And as it gets heavier, I can put more clips on there. As more sucker branch shoots up and develops more fruit, I can add more strings to it, and I can let the plant grow without stunting it from excessive trimming or pruning. Now this works for our system because the amount of space that I have allotted per plant. So if you have a more narrow space, yes, you might need to trim, prune, cut, and train one single vine or 2 vines, right? But for here is a determinate style of plant, and as you can tell, clusters are everywhere. So be careful when you watch other YouTube videos if someone isn't doing a great enough job at explaining why you should prune a determinate plant or indeterminate plant, or giving you the exact details of their particular position with where their garden is. So again, this works for us. You see how much space that we have, so leave them. If you have this exact amount of space, leave your sucker branches. And if you have enough nutrients in the ground, the plant should thrive. And I would like to show you another example. This here is an indeterminate tomato plant. A local friend of mine gave me a few tomatoes. However, she didn't know which varieties they were when I asked, so I took a chance and threw it in the garden. This one's actually thriving. As you can tell, it is definitely not a determinate style of plant. As if you look at the tip top, this top of this horizontal PVC pipe sits probably about 5 feet tall. So this is almost pushing 5 feet tall. Now this here is an indeterminate variety. It will continue growing nice and tall, vining. It will keep producing fruit, flower clusters until first frost hits, okay? So again, same system, different type of plant. Same amount of allotted space. Now again, why the system? And I love it because it also works for a vining type of tomato plant. So again, it's getting nice and tall. As it's getting nice and tall, I can wrap the string around the stem. I can support it with a clip here. And it's all treated the exact same way. Nothing changes. Now, one thing I failed to mention earlier with the determinate style plant is the system also allows for you to perform the Florida weave technique, okay? Some of those determinate bushes over there are pretty bulky, some more than others, some less than others. And this allows you to also further support it with polypropylene twine. Again, just another reason why I love it. I can't say that enough. I really hope you consider this kind of system with your garden. And I will post more shorts and more videos in the future of what the actual finished product is of some of these when these are fully ready to harvest. We're getting there day by day. And as an added bonus, I'm going to show you a time lapse of me constructing one. So if I had to explain these 4 different trellises, the arch trellis allows for growing space over areas where there wouldn't otherwise be. The vertical trellis allows for a heavier fruiting type of plant to grow vertically and get nice and tall and mature and actually hold the load of that heavy fruit. The A-frame allows for a concentrated area of heavy growing, especially my cucumbers. And last, the horizontal string and clip system allows for individual control over different types of varieties of tomatoes. Now, I don't think you need all of these in your summer garden. However, if you have any of these plants in your garden that I do, it's definitely something to consider. One thing I enjoy most about gardening is that gardening is never finished. Every season shows me something that works, something that doesn't, then also helps me want to change those things and refine them. These 4 systems aren't here because I started with a perfect garden plan. They're here because I had a problem and I found a solution. Build something, use it, watch what happens, change it if you don't like it, and just repeat that process. So, when deciding on what trellis to put in your garden, first start with the plant. How does that plant naturally grow? Does it need to climb? Does it need overhead space? Does it need air space? These are all things to consider when choosing your trellis. Next, consider how you will manage it. How will you inspect it? How will you prune it? How will you harvest it? Answer those questions first, and choosing the right trellis becomes much easier. I'll continue sharing these systems as the season progresses. I'll discuss what works and what doesn't work in future videos. Today's Able Project video is about gardening, and that is not all this channel is about. This channel is about you becoming more able in multiple aspects of your life. Whether that is growing food for your family, improving your health and fitness for those around you so you can serve others around you, or showing love, grace, and kindness to someone else with the strength of your faith. I want you to become more capable, durable, and adaptable. A quick prayer for you, friend. Heavenly Father, thank you for this opportunity for these viewers watching this channel. I pray they see your love, your grace, and your kindness through me as they come along for this journey. I pray not for easy days in their future, but for tougher legs and for stronger hearts with their eyes upon you, knowing that they can do all things through you, not through themselves. Amen. See you later, friends.